Depreciation is calculated in order to write off the value of an asset over its economic life. So basically, when you buy a car, if let's say you buy a brand new 211 car, the minute you drive that car out of the yard, it will depreciate, and unfortunately in the first year of its life, so for the first year that you own it, it will lose anything up to €10,000 in depreciation. Its value is depleted. It's now got an owner, it's going to be driven more, and vice versa. Its economic value deteriorates because in a year's time you're going to have another model, generally better model, or there's going to be something different about it, so the value of the previous car goes down. So there's a number of things that this happens to. Wear and tear is a reason why it's depreciated. Obsolete, so if it becomes out of date, you'll notice with a lot of iPhones, they'll just stop producing them, or there'll be no more updates for the iPhones, so they're no good. They've completely lost their value, they've depreciated. So what we need to remember is that we only use the reduce and balance for leaving cert, okay? This is the formula, alright? You're going to have to pick out what the F and the P and the I and T is in the questions, but we're going to look at that now in a minute. And basically, we're going to use reduce and balance method, and it's just another way of, instead of writing off a fixed amount every year, it's a fixed percentage of the remaining value. So the asset declines per year, and we'll show you that then. It's generally for vehicles. And F is called the later value, so like what will it be in X amount of years' time. And those of you that do accounting will know this as the net book value of the asset. So what is it worth now after it's depreciated? So for those that do accounting, you'll be looking for a net book value. Those that haven't done accounting, it's the later value is what the F is. And we'll look at that in a couple of questions. We have example 1 here. We have You Deliver Limited bought a new delivery van. Delivery van cost $25,000. And basically it's the company's policy to depreciate the van at a rate of 20% per annum. So every year that this company owns this van, it's reducing in value by 20%, which is generally the going rate for the depreciation of the asset. So what we're going to look at is at the end of the 3 years, okay, in part 1, we want to find out what is this van worth to the company at the end of 3 years, okay? So we write out our formula for part 1. We write out our formula of F equal to P bracket 1 plus I to the power of T. Now let's have a look at our question and see, can we find out what F is? F is what we're looking for. F we know is the net book value. F equals net book value. So they want us to find that in this question. P is going to be the present amount of this. So it's the 25,000. Okay, it's the amount that the delivery van is worth. And then you're going to have that we have the interest rate is 20%, I is 20%, and the time that we're depreciating the asset over is 3 years. Okay, so let's fill that in. F will be equal to P, which is 25,000, bracket 1 plus 0.2%, 20%, all over, to the power of 3. So that's going to work out at 25,000. Okay, oh, apologies, it's a minus, apologies. That's the only difference with this formula, it's a minus. We're subtracting the percentage. And that's going to leave us with 0.8. And that's still to the power of 3. You can put a 0 after that 8 if you want to show that it's 80, but there's no need. So the depreciation of the asset is 12,000, okay? 800. That's how much it's going to depreciate over the 3 years. Now, if we want to find out in part 2, what the amount of the van will be, how much depreciation is written off of the van, we're basically going to be looking at, well, it's the cost minus the net book value is the depreciation written off. So for part 2, we're going to be looking at the cost of the van, all right, minus the net book value, So what's it worth at the end of the 3 years? And that's how much the depreciation is going to be written off. So the cost is 25,000. At the end of 3 years, it's going to have 12,800 of a net book value. So that means that the depreciation must have been 12,200 is the depreciation. And I'm just going to put DEP for short. Okay, so ABC Limited have purchased a delivery van. Again, they've bought an asset. It cost them 60,000. It's their policy to depreciate the vans at a rate of 20% on a reducing balance method. What will the value of the asset be after 5 years? So with a reducing balance method, okay, you can do it year by year through this table here, okay, or there's another method and it's through the formula, and I'm going to show you both and you can choose which one you want to do. So using the table, you're basically going to say, well, in year 1 it cost them 60,000. They lost depreciation of 20%. You're basically going to find 20% of 60,000, which is 12,000. Take it away and you get your net book value. So your net book value, for want of a thing, the net book value, NBV, is equal to the cost of the asset minus the depreciation amount. And that's where I'm getting the 48,000 over here. Okay, in year 2 then, so at the end of year 1, that's what the asset is worth. Okay, so going into year 2, the cost of the asset is now 48,000 because it's lost the 20% depreciation. And you keep that going, you get 20% of 48,000, it's 9,600. Take these two amounts away and you get 38,400, and so on until you get to year 5. Now that's a very tedious method of doing it, but it's perfectly acceptable. Now what you can do is method 2, and I'm just going to show you method 2. It's what we looked at there a moment ago, is the formula. Okay, it might be a bit easier for people to follow. So the formula again is F for the future value of the asset equals P bracket 1 again minus, because you're subtracting the depreciation, it's losing its interest, over T. So in this case our F we don't know, we're looking for it. Our P, the value of the asset at the start of year 1, was 60,000. Okay, we've got our interest rate of 20%. And we've got it over time being 5 years. So simply fill in this formula here. I'll do it over this side. You've got 60,000. And what you're going to say is it's going to be 1 minus 0.2 to the power of 5. Pop that into a calculator. You're going to come out with exactly 660.8. So see if you can do this video from the last set of exam questions, now that you know what depreciation actually is. And further test your understanding of depreciation with these two. And we're going to look at when we're given everything except the interest rate for the depreciation, how would we figure it out? But we'll look at that on Tuesday.